All right, today we're going to dig into a piece of source material that makes a huge promise. And we're going to break down not just what it says, but maybe more importantly, what it doesn't say.
Okay, so let's dive right in. Our first source, it's literally just these three words, new Nicky verse facts. Super simple, really direct. And right away, you think you know what to expect.
I mean, a headline like that, it's totally designed to grab your attention, right? It makes you think you're about to learn something. Which brings us to the big question, what facts does it actually provide? Let's treat this like a little investigation, shall we? Okay, so to get to the bottom of this, we've got to start by breaking down the headline itself. We need to figure out exactly what it's promising before we can see if it actually delivers on that promise. When you look at it this way, it's like a contract with the reader, you know? New implies we haven't seen this before. Nicky verse, that's our topic. And facts, man, that's the big one. That's a promise of real, verifiable data. So let's just be super clear about what we're looking for here. A fact. Well, that's not just an opinion, right? It's not a rumor. It's something that is known or can be proved to be true. That's the high bar we're holding this to.
All right, so we've got the promise down. The question now is, where's the good stuff? Where's the content that actually delivers? Let's check out our next source and see what we find.
Okay, moving on to our second piece of source material. Let's see if this is where we'll find those facts we were promised, or at least some kind of context for that headline. And, well, here's what we find. It's a list of links, about, press, copyright, terms, the whole shebang. This looks suspiciously like a totally generic footer you'd see on pretty much any website. So this brings up a pretty obvious question, doesn't it? Does any of this text give us any new facts or, any facts at all about Nicky verse? And the answer is a big, clear no. This is just a standard YouTube footer. It's the same boilerplate stuff that's on tons of pages. It has absolutely nothing to do with our topic. All right, it's time to put the pieces together. We've looked at the promise, and we've looked at the actual text provided. And what we're left with? Well, it's basically an information vacuum. So, to recap, after digging through all the source material we were given, that catchy headline and the footer text, we were on the hunt for those promised new facts about Nicky verse.
And the grand total of new facts we found is exactly this. 0. Nothing. A complete and total absence of the information we were promised.
And this is the really crucial point here. What we have is a classic case of a headline that writes a check the content just can't cash. The sources give us the promise of facts, but not the actual facts themselves. Okay, so why does any of this even matter? It's just a headline, right? Well, yeah, we've only looked at a couple of tiny bits of text, but this whole exercise actually points to a much, much bigger lesson about how we all consume information. It's really about learning to spot these empty promises so we can become smarter readers. And what we just did, it actually gives us a really simple 3-step toolkit we can all use. Step 1, always read past the headline. So often it's just bait. Step 2, look for the evidence. Is there anything real there to back up the big claim? And finally, step 3, question the context. Like, where is this even coming from? Is this a real article or is it just a random headline slapped on top of a generic footer? Look, if you remember just one thing from all this, make it this. The promise of information is not the same thing as information itself. Just being able to spot that difference, that's a huge deal for getting around in the world today. And that kind of leaves us with one last question to chew on. As you're going about your day, scrolling through your feeds, just keep this in the back of your mind. How much of what you're seeing online is just another empty promise? It's definitely something to think about.